advantage because immediately following the end of the start-finish straight, there is a kink towards their side. So if you're well behind the pole setter, P3 might actually be better than P2.
That was a wonderful recap as we see head of Competizione GT, Mr. Antonello Coletta, then head of all Attività Sportive GT, making his way through the grid here. And of course, last night was something so special as the launch of the LMH car as Ferrari returns to the top class of endurance racing. And I have to say that car launch last night, and for me to be involved in but just a small part of that, was something very special indeed. We saw Dorian Penn there taking on some fluid just ahead of the start of this race. My goodness me, 31 cars going into turn number 1. It's going to be very exciting and almost breathtaking, I would suggest. Might be wise to holding on to everything. So we are still a little bit away from the start of the race. 5 minutes indeed, as you can see, the marshal holding the 5-minute board up there. And there you can see all the cars on the grid. And because there are so many people here, the grid is very populated by dignitaries and VIPs and spectators and race fans and team members and their families, etc., etc., etc. And just the whole ambience and the atmosphere of this pre-grid is something very special indeed. Really exciting, and delighted to be bringing you this final race of our 2022 season. Of course, the gloves are off and all the pressure has gone away because the championships have all been decided. So now it is this one sprint race then to see who will become the world champion. Will it be this man, Thomas Neubauer? He's put himself in the best possible position to do so because he's going from P1 on the grid. It's pole position for the Charles Pozzi Courage driver, Thomas Neubauer. But alongside him, he will have the young whippersnapper that is Alessio Dono, who is undoubtedly a supremely talented young driver. Then it's going to be John Bortique and Dorian Penn, and then Luca Nurmi and former Formula One star Adrian Sutil. Alongside me, I'm delighted to welcome one of our official Competizione GT drivers late on parade this morning. It's Niklas Nielsen. Good morning, Niklas.
Good morning.
What a night last night as we unveiled that LMH car, and I was lucky to present. You were lucky to be there as an official Competizione GT driver. It was a goosebump-inducing moment, wasn't it?
Yeah, it definitely was. I mean, I've seen the car prior the event, but I have to say the presentation was. I mean, it was fantastic. I've never seen anything like it, and I think it's the same for the whole motorsport world.
When Ferrari do things, they kind of do them well, don't they, Niklas?
Definitely.
And Niklas Nielsen, you've been in this position where you're on the grid for the world final race, having won the championship. It's everything is now concentrated on this one race to take the world champion. By being world champion, you are the best across all our regions, whether that's Europe, North America, Asia Pacific, or the UK. So there's a bit of pressure, isn't there?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, we heard all the drivers saying that obviously the championship was important to them, but now obviously everyone is going for the world finals, and yeah, I think everyone is under pressure. Everyone is excited for the race. we'll see. I think we will have a very exciting race ahead of us.
When you were racing in the Ferrari Challenge, you were racing for the Formula Racing team, and Christian Brunsborg, who has got P2 in terms of a Pirelli&AM grid place, and Luca Nurmi is another one of those Formula Racing drivers. For Christian Brunsborg, who's had such an up and down season, to be able to end the season as world champion, that would make him feel good, wouldn't it?
Yeah, I hope for him he will do a good job. I mean, we all saw what happened in race 1. And I mean, you know, it's obviously it's a part of racing, but there was nothing he could do there. And I think for him, I spoke to him after the race. He didn't really say much.
No.
For him, the main focus now is just to go out there and do an awesome job in the World Final and try and win it. And yeah, I would lie if I said I'm not cheering for him.
Of course. We will be hearing from Niklas Nielsen during the course of the race as he gives us his expert eye as a top driver and top talent, and of course official Competizione GT driver. Also with us is Nico Spalek then, who will bring us his statistical analysis, because across a computer screen and an Excel spreadsheet and taking a look at all the data, there is none better. As Nicholas just looks at his screen and he's ordering himself a new pair of trousers. My goodness me. Thomas Neubauer, surely Nico, he's the gun driver here, isn't he, going from P1?
Oh yes, I mean definitely he will feel like he's got the pace in the car, he will feel confident about his chances, but equally he knows that he has to stay in front through the first few turns, and that's where it's sometimes very difficult going to that first chicane. Also, quick look in the AMs, we've got Marco Pulcini, Christian Brunsborg, and then it's Dylan Madler and Nigel Skundevold. So it's going to be very interesting also in the middle of the pack, because that's generally where things very easily can go wrong.
Yes, you're absolutely right. Best of the North American drivers in terms of Trofeo, Pirelli's going from P7. That's Manny Franco. What a weekend he's had, 2 out of 2 wins this weekend. And the best of the Pirelli&AM North American drivers going from P3 in class, but that's P13 on the grid, because we've got such a big grid of cars, is Dylan Medler. So it is a lot of people here. All the non-essential personnel are being asked to leave the grid now as we're getting ready to go racing. And as you can see, with some enthusiasm, the flags are being waved, and there are lots and lots of spectators here to enjoy the Finale Mondiale. And here we go. We'll bring you the grid in full as the Richard Mills safety car leads the cars away on the formation lap for the final race of our 30th anniversary season of the Ferrari Challenge, which sees Thomas Neubauer and Alessio Dono going from P1 and P2. To the second row of the grid, we find John Bortique, and the P4 place is occupied by Dorian Penn, our Trofeo Pirelli champion. Then it's Luca Nurmi and Adrian Sutil going from P5 and P6. Manny Franco and Jason McCarthy then are P7 and P8 for our North America, with Jeremy Clark having sealed the championship yesterday going from P9. Best AM driver is Marco Pulcini, he goes from P10. Then it's Christian Brunsborg and Matt Kajewski, P11 and P12, with Dylan Medler and Nigel Schundevert, P13 and P14. Max Mugelli and Yuda Uchida going from P15 and P16. Good qualifying from Yuda Uchida, ahead of Nobuhiro Imada and Ange Bardi, of course, Trofeo Pirelli&AM champion in Europe. Roberto Perina and Aaron Weiss, 2 North American drivers, together on the 10th row of the grid, ahead of Nicola Rossi and Hanno Laskowski. Hanno Laskowski on the podium yesterday. Andrew Morrow, what a star he's been in the UK. He goes from P23 with Arno Dahlmeier alongside him. Then it's Alfred Caiola and Custodio Toledo, P25 and P26. H. Sickens from P27 and Alessandro Cozzi from P28. Don't rule out Todd Coleman going from P29 and Joseph Rubo going from P30, with Mark Muzo and Alexandre Boucher P31 and P32. Faisal Al-Faisal and Andrew Gilbert then are on the 17th row of the grid, with Mikhail Boucher going from P35. Going from P35 means there are 35 cars, which means for Thomas Neubauer going into turn number 1, theoretically going to have 34 cars up his trumpet going into turn number 1. That's a lot of pressure.
Yeah, it is, but equally, I mean, he will focus on what his start, and he will focus maybe on the cars directly around him. I think it's more something for the drivers who have 20 cars ahead of them, where they really have to look out what's going on next to them, behind them, but also anything that may go away just ahead of them.
Well, we will see how it pans out, because there's not long to wait then before our final race of our 2022 season in the Ferrari Challenge gets the greens. You can see Thomas Neubauer champing at the bit, and in response, so too is Alessio Dono and John Lortique and Dorian Penner, all together more, just a little bit more cultured behind, perhaps. So we will see. So they're around Ravazza 1 and now Ravazza 2, which is the final turn to complete a lap. The Richard Mille safety car peels off into the pit lane, and the cars will, side by side in full grid formation, approach the lighting gantry, and we will be ready to go racing. Whatever it is you've got about your person that's loose fitting, hold on to it tight. This is gonna be a good one. Stand by. Well, a good start from Thomas Neubauer. You can see some drivers taking to the grass already to try and find some advantage. That's Manny Franco, isn't it? Is on the grass. He manages to get it, and we see contact there, and 2 or 3 cars are involved in that from middle of the grid order. Thomas Neubauer had got the start absolutely nailed, but there is no question in my mind there's going to be a safety car before we've even got the first few turns completed, as everyone jostling for position here. And Manny Franco, as I say, how he held onto that car, being on the grass and then back onto the tarmac is, well, unbelievable. Safety car has been called for. My goodness me, we have got so many monitors up here in the commentary studio, and I can tell you that the eyes around me, those of Niklas Nielsen and Nico Spalek, were taking a look at everything as we could see things unfold through the middle of the pack, and involved in that is the 402 car of Yuda Uchida. So Yuda Uchida is one of the drivers that was involved in that before they even got to turn number 1, and you can see also is Niccolo Rossi, who's had such a good season this season. He finds himself in the gravel as well, so that's another car that's going to have to be recovered. And there, big damage on the 215 car, and that is the car of Dylan Medler. Now, Dylan Medler was, of course, in a really good position potentially for this world final race, but Dylan Medler, I think it looks to be the most damaged car of any of the Trofeo Pirelli cars that wanted to get that world final race underway. So within but a few hundred meters of tarmac then, Nico, things went wrong from the middle of the pack, which of course the busiest of the pack, and we're going to take a look at a replay in just a moment or so, as the cars are of course behind the safety car right now in single file. Here it comes. So you can see Manny Franco was on the grass there. He wasn't the only one that had to take to the grass. And look at this, Manny Franco doing like a lawnmower job, isn't he? And at such speed, it's extraordinary. There was a touch there with Luca Nurmi as well, but I don't think it was further back, wasn't it, where things began to go horribly wrong.
Yeah, definitely. Another one outside of the drivers we lost already with a bad start was Christian Brunsberg, who was right behind Marco Pulcini. He dropped 5 or 6 positions now, third in class behind Nigel Skundeboard, but there is 3 Pirelli drivers between them, so lost a lot of time in those incidents.
I think possibly picking up some damage in that was Ange Bardi. I can see the back end of the Ange Bard car smoking there as we're looking at all these replays. Ange Bardi, of course, who was the is the Trofeo Pirelli&AM champion, and there you can see the team going to work on the Ange Bard car, but he's out of the car. He's not going to be continuing. That's a great shame because he's had such a stellar season. And Niklas, I suppose, with some 35 cars going into turn number 1, your experience as a racing driver when it is such a busy grid, it was always going to be tricky because it's like a funnel, isn't it?
Yeah, it's always going to be difficult. I mean, especially in sprint racing, but even sometimes in endurance, you know, you never know what to expect, and sometimes you're lucky, sometimes you're not. And I mean, looking at the screen now in the replay, it was even difficult to see where it started and where it ended. So, you know, it was just a chaotic start, and yeah, everyone involved, obviously, it's a great shame for them.
Yes, of course it is, but there we are. The incident in turn number 1 is under investigation, we're being told by race control, and you can see all the engineers and driver coaches and team bosses taking a look on the monitors there, and that is Matteo Babalus, who is driver coach to Alessio Dono, who is P2. Now, the front-running cars managed to avoid all the carnage going on behind, of course, and they were able to continue on their way. And I have to say, it was a very good start from Thomas Neubauer. and Alicia O'Donnell was not able to take it to Thomas Neubauer right at the very start. So we will see. I think the safety car is going to be out for a little while because there's 3 or 4 cars to be recovered. Now, the recovery team here at Imola have done a brilliant job all weekend long in terms of being very quick in recovering stricken cars. And there you can see the 402 car of Yuda Uchida, which is one of those that's going to have to be recovered, but that could be pushed back into that safety part of the circuit. Yeah, you could see the opening in the safety fencing, and that meant that that car was able to go away. There's Dylan Medler walking away, and there are just some of the many spectators that are here at Imola this weekend to enjoy the action. Well, they've not been treated to an entire lap of Trofeo Pirelli yet, but they will be. Clock continues to count down, of course, and as soon as the recovery is done, the word will reach us that the safety car will come in at the conclusion of that particular lap. No word of when that is going to be right now, but I don't think, and if we act on what we've seen thus far, Nikos, in the race, the recovery team do a very good and quick job.
Yeah, definitely. There is a picture of that, because it's not only getting the cars recovered, but obviously all the debris, and in this case,
grass. It's grass.
Yeah.
And Manny Franco was mowing that, wasn't he? Because he had no alternative. He couldn't get onto the tarmac because the bit of tarmac he wanted to get onto was full of Lucanermi.
Well, absolutely. And I mean, you might ask, well, grass on the track, why is that a problem? Well, you have to have grip through the turns, and Niklas, I'm sure that obviously gravel is a problem, but if you've got too many leaves and etc. on the track, that doesn't bode well for your next braking point.
No, definitely not. I mean, in this case, obviously, with the safety car coming out, it makes sense to remove the grass. But if nothing happened in turn 1, honestly, since most of the grass is actually off the racing line-ish, I'm not sure they would have done anything. But obviously now it makes great sense to remove it.
Well, as we saw, one of the drivers that lost out in the start at some point, and we didn't exactly see how or why, was Ange Bardi, who is the Trofeo Pirelli&AM champion, and I think Marietta's caught up with him.
Angie, what a pity what happened to you so early in the race. Tell us what happened in your perspective.
What happened is the world final, so every driver wants to win. It's difficult because I saw a lot of mistakes in front of me. I tried to pass on the right or on the left, but in the back the guy pushed me and he destroyed the car. So it's the life, it's the world final, but it's the bad weekend for me this weekend. But I'm happy. In final, I am European champion. It's more important than to win only one race.
Exactly. Let's look at the positives, because you have been in such a strong form the whole year.
Yes, it's a go. It's a nice Finale Mondiale. It's the 30th birthday of the Ferrari Challenge. I'm really happy. Ferrari make a very fantastic show, and but at the end the race is the race, and sometimes you win, sometimes you lose. Today I lose, but it's the life. We will see the next.
Thank you very much.
Very diplomatic there from Ange Bardi, and very realistic, if I'm honest with you, Niklas Nielsen. It is racing, isn't it? Sometimes sometimes the rub of the green is your way, sometimes it isn't. And Ange Bardi, having been so good during the season, has taken the victory in the championship. Of course, he would have loved to have taken the world final race as well, but it just wasn't to be.
No, definitely. And I mean, we also see that the incident in T1, there is no further action after the investigation. And I mean, it would have been almost impossible to tell who started it. And as he also said, I mean, the championship's already sealed. The world final is on, and obviously everyone is going to go for that overall victory. So it is what it is, like he said.
So Niklas Nielsen, and prior to Niklas Nielsen, the Competizione GT driver that we were just hearing from, we heard from Ange Bardi, who was and is the 2022 Trofeo Pirelli&AM champion, who won his very first. I mean, he especially is celebrating the 30-year anniversary of the Ferrari Challenge, because he won his first championship before Dorian Penn was even born, and possibly before Niklas Nielsen was born. I don't know the age difference between Niklas Nielsen and but it's possibly best I drop that subject now before Niklas Nielsen decides to thump me. So Thomas Neubauer he's got to just try and maintain some temperature into the tyres, and he does that by weaving from side to side and also using the brake pedal as well, because the heat dissipates out of the braking system through the rims and onto the tyres. And I don't think we're going to be that much longer behind the safety car, but inevitably what we have done, we've lost, Nico, 10 minutes of the race. A third of the race has been gone and is gone behind the safety car.
Yeah, absolutely. And for all the drivers who want to make up positions, that's obviously bad news. On the other hand, tire preservation is obviously easier behind the safety car. As we get informed that the safety car will come in at the end of its lap, and also track limits, which is always a difficult thing. You had 10 fewer minutes to run a foul with track limits. So
fair point.
Penalties for track limits may be a little bit less likely, but now it comes down to warming up the tires, warming up the brakes to get ready for the restart.
There is a train of thought, Niklas Nielsen, that when the safety car is called for, that safety cars have a habit of breeding more safety cars, because of course everyone gets bunched up together again, but in this scenario they're going to be in single file behind the safety car, which is perhaps much less provocative than when you're side by side. Is that fair?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, safety car restarts, it's all about, definitely for Thomas Neubauer, who is in the leading position. For him, it's all about making a start that is a lot better than the guy in P2. And then obviously, if there are cars close coming down to T1, we never know what's going to happen. But single file restart should be a lot better than a double file restart, definitely.
There you can see the Scuderia Ferrari club, that's the club from Switzerland. We did just see very, very briefly the Niklas Nielsen fan club, who are here this weekend as well. And there is Thomas Neubauer. I really am going to get thumped. Thomas Neubauer and Alessio Dono. So yes, Alessio Dono needs to anticipate when Thomas Neubauer is going to give it 100% on the accelerator pedal. And if he can anticipate that, that means, of course, he can stay with Thomas Neubauer and perhaps have a go going into maybe turn number 1 or 2 or whatever. We will see. There is Christian Brunsborg now, and Christian Brunsborg is one of those drivers that desperately would like to win this. He's P3 in Trofeo Pirelli&AM at the moment, and it's Marco Pulcini who is leading in Pirelli&AM. So here comes Thomas Neubauer then, and it looks like he's already given it 100% and maybe caught Alessio Dono a little bit out there because Alessio was not right with him. So here we go then, let's go racing. It is the world final for Ferrari Challenge Trofeo Pirelli as they head along the start-finish straight with a couple of kinks in there as well. You really, really hug the pit wall then, and Thomas Neubauer, Alessio Dono carrying so much speed into turn number 1, and Alessio Dono getting a little bit closer. So Thomas Neubauer brakes, turns in, uses as much of the curbs as he dares, and that really unsettles the car, and you can see it skidding just a little bit over those curbs, and in single file then the cars all come through, and I think that everyone has got through safely. And Alessio Dono and Thomas Neubauer just beginning to break away a little bit from John Wartique, and then Dorian Penn and Adrian Sutil, and then it's Luca Nurmi before we see Jason McCarthy and Marco Pulcini. So here comes Thomas Neubauer driving up the hill right now. A little bit of dust being kicked up there, and rather think that Manny Franco has had a good restart as well in this race following the safety car. So just over 17 minutes remaining in this race. Of course, we always race to a time duration rather than a number of laps. And there is our Trofeo Pirelli 2022 European champion, Dorian Penn, who's chasing John Wartique. Now, of course, she can't take the win. She would love to be on the podium to really seal what has been a fantastic season for her. And John Wartique really wants to salvage something out of it. As I said at the beginning of the program, he's kind of paid second fiddle to Dorian Penn all season long. And here they come then, rolling downhill underneath that bridge. The braking force that you need to use going into these Rivazza turns is absolutely extraordinary. And there is Luca Nurmi, who's really beginning to put the chase on. And there you could see that Adrian Sutil just dipped a couple of wheels into the gravel, and that has allowed Luca Nurmi to get a little bit closer. And then this lovely shot, as you can see, just how close they get to the pit wall as they make their run now into the first chicane here at Imola, where we're bringing you this Finale Mondiale World Final race as our final race of our 2022 season of the Ferrari Challenge. And Sutil is under real pressure from Luca Nurmi. So where can Luca Nurmi try and make a move on Adrian Sutil, It's going to be difficult, and the fastest lap, no surprise, comes from Thomas Neubauer, 1:44.437, and of course, he has got completely clear tarmac ahead of him, but Niklas, critically, as he makes a small mistake there, that allows Alessio Dono to get just a little bit closer, and Alessio is really staying with him, and that was the very question I was going to ask of Niklas Nielsen. I'll hold off asking that just for a moment. The margin between P1 and P2 is just 2 tenths between them, and of course, Luca Nurmi is still continuing to chase Adrian Sutil down as well. There we can see those two cars, this battle for P5 that's going on as they round the right-hander and climb uphill once again, and John Wartique is beginning to break away from Dorian Penn, so it could be a three-way fight for the lead of this race, because John Wartique, all of a sudden, as tyres have been got up to temperature now and proper operating temperature, it's giving them the grip that they were expecting, and of course tyre longevity should be really good in this race now because we've had such an elongated safety car period. So John Wartique is on the back of Alessio Dono, which is going to be disadvantageous for the young Italian star because he's going to be hunting Thomas Neubauer, but he's going to have to defend from John Wartique as well. Let's put another lap in the book then as completed, and actually across the top 6 cars, nothing changed during that last lap, but on this lap it could. Let's see as they all run to the first chicane. And Jason McCarthy, who's running P7 at the moment. Marco Pulcini is the best of the Trofeo Pirelli&AM drivers. Alessio Dono, the back end of the car, stepping out a little bit, perhaps on some of the stricken gravel that's out there, as he now sets the fastest lap by 1:44.3. So on that occasion, he was a tenth quicker than Thomas Neubauer, who is leading the race. So the lineup is top 2s. It's Thomas Neubauer and Alessio Dono, and Dorian Penn now has found her mojo and is attacking John Wartique. So Thomas Neubauer, Alessio Dono, P1 and P2 for the Trofeo Pirelli&AM drivers. It is Marco Pulcini ahead of Nigel Schoendevert. So Nigel Schoendevert has got by Christian Brunsborg. But Marco Pulcini has got a couple of Pirelli drivers betwixt himself and Nigel Schoendevert in by way of some protection, really. So John Wartique was under attack from Dorian Penn just a moment ago, but then all of a sudden John gets the hurry up again, and now Adrian Sutil has broken away from Luca Nurmi. So these top 6 cars, an absolutely brilliant and compelling race. But let's go on board inside the 488 Challenge Evo with Adrian Sutil now as you run downhill, and lead braking to the very last moment. Attack those curves, very, very physical. This is almost a double apex turn, but it is classified as 2 separate turns, and well, there's hardly anything between P1 and P6, to be truthful. And there, as they hug that wall and head into turn number 1 once again, and you can see that Thomas Neubauer and Alessio Dono breaking away just a little bit from John Wartique. John Wartique with his rearview mirrors full of Dorian Penn and also Adrian Sutil, and of course Luca Nurmi as well. And there you can see the next of the cars, which is Jason McCarthy, who has been left by some margin by the pace of these top 6 cars. And Niklas, what on earth do you do as a driver on a track like at Imola, where you know you've almost got to provoke a mistake from the driver in front of you, haven't you, to be able to put on an overtake? Yeah,
I think Neubauer is definitely in the very best position, to be honest. I mean, unless he makes a mistake, I think it's going to be very difficult for Alessio to pass. Obviously, at the moment, it seems like he's a bit faster and obviously changing a bit every lap, but it's so difficult to pass around here, and it's quite easy to defend as well, so that doesn't make the job a lot easier.
Well, there you can see Nobuhiro Imada and Roberto Perina having a real ding-dong battle that's going on for P13 and P14. And elsewhere down the huge pack of cars, there are plenty of fights that are going on. And there you can see the 288 car of Custodio Toledo, and the all-green car ahead of him is the car of Todd Coleman, who's got Arno Dahlmeier ahead of him, and ahead of Arno Dahlmeier is Aaron Weiss. So a load of North American drivers there, as Arno Dahlmeier trying to get to the inside of Aaron Weiss now, this battle for P5. And it's Weiss from Dahlmeier, from Coleman, from Toledo, and here comes Arno Dahlmeier then driving for the Scuderia Nicky Iron Links team. It's the same team that engineered the all pink car of Dorian Penn, so they know how to engineer a car, that's for sure. And Thomas Neubauer knows how to propel a car around this Imola circuit as he and Alessio continue on their way. And the gap evolution over the last 3 laps, seesaws between the two of them a little bit, but Alessio Dono pretty much on the same pace as Thomas Neubauer, although on the last lap he was just a couple of tenths quicker was Neubauer. So that's what I'm saying about this seesaw in reaction in terms of lap times. And there you can see the fastest lap now being set by Thomas Neubauer, which was on the last lap. So a 1:43.712. We expect Alessio Dono will respond to that by just trying to find yet another millimetre with which he can push the accelerator pedal further through the floor. There's John Wartigue. The brake discs, I mean, this is such a brake demanding circuit, Nicolas. You see those brake discs really, really light up as there are so many sections where you just have to bring the car to a stop, or not to a stop, but really slow that accumulated speed. And there's problems for Alessio Dono. So Alessio Dono then, as Thomas Neubauer all of a sudden has got a bigger gap behind him than he had previously. Alessio Dono, we saw some seemingly steam or smoke coming off of the car. And that means all of a sudden John Wartigue is P2 and Dorian Penn is P3, as Alessio Dono is dropping down the order like a stone to the bottom of the river. So, goodness only knows, but Alessio Dono, unfortunately, he's not in a podium place now, and certainly not in a position where he can challenge Thomas Neubauer for the lead. So with under 10 minutes remaining now, the safety car period is under investigation, we're being told by race control. And car number 66, which is Luca Nurmi chasing down Adrian Sutil, has got a final warning with regards to track limits at turn number 9. Now Luca needs not to be picking up a penalty ideally for exceeding the track limits, and if he gets another warning he will get a penalty. Adrian Sutil is having to defend like never before, and that's a good move by Luca Nurmi if he can maintain his speed up the hill here. Well, being squeezed by Adrian Sutil, who gives him just enough racing room, but Luca Nurmi will have the inside here. He has to take to the curbs, and this is brilliant stuff that's going on between Luca Nurmi and Adrian Sutil. Inside becomes the outside, outside becomes the inside. Oh, really good, fair and tidy fight between the two of them here. And Adrian Sutil, for the moment in P4, is able to see off the threat of Luca Nurmi. Brilliant driving and healthy respect between each of the drivers. Adrian Sutil, of course, former Formula One star. Luca Nurmi, unquestionably one of the rising stars in motor racing. Talented young driver without question, as Thomas Neubauer has 1.1 seconds of margin over John Wartigue, who's now in P2. We stay on board with Luca Nurmi through, on board with Adrian Sutil through the Ravazza turns and onto the start-finish straight. That is how close they get to the barriers. There's our race leader, John Wartigue, who has been in the shadow of now Luca Nurmi diving to the inside of Adrian Sutil. Has to think better of it, and discretion the better part of valor, but Sutil is bouncing all over the curbs. That was very much a provocation from Luca Nurmi, just trying to get a mistake from the driver in front of him. Nicolas, he really did that well, didn't he?
Yeah, he definitely did. That's what we talked about earlier as well. It's so difficult to pass here. We saw Luca being side by side with Adrian for several corners, and they really respected each other, but it all came down to Adrian making a mistake, and eventually Luca got past him.
Well, that was really good to watch. Luca Nurmi having provoked that mistake from Adrian Sutil, the constant pressure that he's placed on him, and now he's got by Adrian Sutil. He's like a cork that's been released from the bottle. You know, he's got so much pace, hasn't he? So now I was saying just before we saw that wonderful overtake from Luca Nurmi, for John Wartigue, who has been in the shadow of Dorian Penn all season long. Let's get a replay of this Luca Nurmi overtake before I explain my rationale in thinking. And here you can see that's where Adrian Sutil was misplaced. He bounced over those curbs, didn't he? The car was not where he needed it to be, and therefore Luca Nurmi was able to go through. So back to what I was saying about the P2. John Wartigue, who has been in the shadow of Dorian Penn all season long. I appreciate we've only got 6 and a bit minutes of the race remaining. You can see how he's broken away from Dorian Penn, because I believe that the John Wartigue psyche will be, do you know what? I could still salvage a title out of this season. He's got a tall order. He's got a second to take out of Thomas Neubauer in terms of space on track. And it's not only being as quick as the car in front of him, he's got to get by him as well. But there is no question about it in my mind that John Wartigue, as he takes another little bit of time out of Thomas Neubauer, is on something of a charge here, Nico.
Yeah, John Wartigue had an up and down season. Was, as you said, he was there all the time, but he wasn't quite at the very sharp end because Dorian Pin more often than not prevented that. And now if he can really get on terms with Thomas Neubauer, I'm sure he will be smart, but he will also be very determined to take that win and yeah, have the happy end to the season that he dreams of.
Well, let's see. There's only 5.5 minutes of the race remaining, so not a lot of race for John Wartigue to do it here. And Thomas Neubauer is not renowned for making errors or mistakes. And there we can see as Thomas Neubauer clatters across the curbs and runs the car back uphill again. We go back to this wonderful fight that's been going on here, and it involves Aaron Weiss and Custodio Toledo and Todd Coleman. You can see Arno Dahlmeier is ahead of those now, and Arno Dahlmeier is running in P5 in class. This is the battle for P6 between Aaron Weiss, Custodio Toledo and Todd Coleman. They're three of really, really talented North American drivers from our Ferrari Challenge North America campaign, which has been awesome this year. And in fairness, the Trofeo Pirelli Championships only getting won and confirmed yesterday, going right to the wire in our North America season. And again, really, really aggressive across the curbs there. And Todd Coleman is just standing by in that all-green liveried 488 to try and take advantage of anything that should happen to the two cars ahead. And they're heavy braking into the first of the Ravazza turns, and we're down to the final 4 minutes of this final race of our 30th anniversary season of the Ferrari Challenge. And don't rule out the fact that although after saying that, I was just going to say, don't rule out the fact that John Wartigue is continuing to close. Actually, he isn't. Thomas Neubauer has responded, and the gap has gone up to 1.4 seconds. So Aaron Weiss then continues to be under real pressure here. And through this and there again, trying to provoke a mistake. Now I did say watch out for Todd Coleman. He could be the one that could pick up the pieces here as these two go warring together here. So Todd Coleman has moved up, and Aaron Weiss now, and the big loser there is Custodio Toledo. Todd Coleman taking a dive to the inside of Aaron Weiss now, and Todd Coleman is going to go through. I did say that sometimes being in that position is the best position to be in, because you can let those two fight ahead of you, Niklas, and just wait there and get ready to take advantage.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, that was the perfect opportunity, and he took it. I mean, that was great racing.
Aaron Weiss, though, is coming back here, so he's taken a move to the inside. That was always going to be very ambitious. Todd Coleman turned around there. And I have to be honest, I'm not a racing driver, but even I know that that's not somewhere you're going to get an overtake, is it, Niklas?
No, that turned around pretty fast, I have to say. It went from good racing to not so good racing.
Yeah, well, nonetheless, we have just 2.5 minutes, and it's Thomas Neubauer, 1.4 seconds ahead of John Wartigue, and then Dorian Penn is P3. This is Trofeo Pirelli World Final Race. Leading in Trofeo Pirelli, Thomas Neubauer. Leading in Pirelli&AM is Marco Pulcini. And the top three in each of the classes, Thomas Neubauer, John Wartigue and Dorian Penn for Trofeo Pirelli. For Pirelli&AM, it's Marco Pulcini, Nigel Schundeverd, and then it is Christian Brunsborg. So we've got the remainder of this lap plus one more to do before this season. Our 30th anniversary year of the Ferrari Challenge Championship is brought to a close. Nico Spalek.
Yeah, and fortunately Todd Coleman has got the car going again, so we won't end the race behind the safety car, which would have been very likely had he been stuck there. But no, we will continue this race for the last minute and a half.
Okay, well, there we can see this queue of cars going up the hill here. It's Aaron Weiss then at the head of this little pack here with Custodio, Toledo, and Andrew Morrow, who's been such a star in the UK series, and Mark Musso as well. So one UK driver in amongst 3 North American racers here. And Aaron Weiss, I tell you what, he's had to do some defending during the course of this race. And of course, he and Custodio, he and Todd Coleman coming together there. And I have to say, as Todd Coleman went around, you could see that Todd Coleman had kept his foot in, because all the wheels were spinning and the smoke was coming off the car. And I actually thought he was going to be able to 360 it and get it going straight away, but it didn't quite work like that. Here's Thomas Neubauer then on the final lap of this Ferrari Challenge Trofeo Pirelli and Trofeo Pirelli&AM race. Marco Pulcini leading for Trofeo Pirelli&AM. It's Thomas Neubauer leading for Trofeo Pirelli. So Marco Pulcini, who had such a big crash in Mugello, has come back this weekend in Imola and is doing really well. And for Marco Pulcini to take the world final for Trofeo Pirelli&AM, he will be elated. He wears his emotions on a sleeve, and he is on course to add that gold roof to his tally of race wins as well. Thomas Neubauer then, in the end, look, very nearly 2 seconds ahead of John Wartique. And to take nothing away from Thomas Neubauer, it was always his intention, because his campaign this year was not a full campaign. It was always his intention to focus and concentrate on the world final. That's precisely what he and the Charles Pozzi Courage team have done. And to be fair, he has just a couple of turns to do, and then he will head to the checkered flag. And for Thomas Neubauer, then it will be everything that he's worked for this season is about to be realized as he heads towards the checkered flag to become the Trofeo Pirelli World Champion. Congratulations to Thomas Neubauer as the flags fly in the grandstands here. John Wartique takes P2, Dorian Penn is P3 ahead of Luca Nurmi. Then it will be Adrian Sutil and Jason McCarthy. And then to take the Trofeo Pirelli&AM victory, it is going to be Marco Pulcini, who flashes his lights and does cross the timing line and takes that victory ahead of Nigel Schoenderveld and Christian Brunsburg, who will be P2 and P3. Niklas Nielsen has been with us during the course of the race. I know you have so many media duties to do and probably trophy presentation on the podium as well, maybe. So we release you now, but as always, big thank you to you for all your help. Niklas Nielsen, absolutely top driver. And there you can see for the FML D2P team, they're very happy with John Wartique having sealed P2. And there was just one point, Nico, where I thought John Wartique was getting the hurry up here and he's really going to go for it. But actually, the pace of Thomas Neubauer could not be discounted.
Yeah, no, and you know, all the happiness here on the pit lane, very proud. And as we've said so many times, it is a team sport, even though it's only the driver in the car. And so great joy for the whole team, both for Thomas Neubauer, but also the Altair Motors team for Marco Pulcini will be over the moon. And I dare venture to say that we will see drivers on top of car roofs fairly soon.
It's definitely a possibility, Nico. I concede that you have probably called that quite correctly.
And just so great to see so many fans here on the grandstands, especially after pandemic years. Yes. And this event brings together the Ferrari family, and all the fans are part of that. So great race, and here are the results in class.
Yes, the top 3 in each of Trofeo Pirelli and Trofeo Pirelli&AM. Thomas Neubauer, John Wartique and Dorian Penn. For Trofeo Pirelli&AM, it's Marco Pulcini, Nigel Schoenderveld and Christian Brunsburg. Everything, of course, is always contained on our social media. You can follow us on @Ferrari Races. So the cars will come into Parc Fermé, and then the celebrations ahead of the podium, where we will see the champagne sprayed with some abandon, I do not doubt. Grazie Ferrari. There, confirmation of the complete classification. Having done the top three, Luca Nurmi takes P4, Adrian Sutil P5, then it was Jason McCarthy, Manny Franco, Roberto Perina and Jeremy Clark. 4 North American drivers make that 5, with Mark Musso in a row completing the top 10. Really, really competitive driving from our North American stars. Regrettably, Alicia O'Donnell, Matt Koyevsky, Max Mugelli and Joseph Ruba were not classified. And we will, of course, bring you the Trofeo Pirelli&AM full classification as well to keep your records absolutely accurate and straight. Finale Mondiale 2022 here at Imola this weekend, as all eyes now will be on the circuit and getting ready for the Ferrari show to come a little bit later on today, as we see Doriane Penn then out of the car. What a season she has had. And there is the man who, as I said, his emotions are always on his sleeve. It's Marco Pulcini, who is world champion. He is world champion in Trofeo Pirelli&AM. Richly deserved. Matteo Cressoni is his driver coach, and as Nico predicted, Marco Pulcini, well, he vaults, I have to say, to the roof of the car. He did a very good job indeed, and also doing a fine job as Thomas Neubauer. I mean, he's a really talented driver, really, really quick, and there was no mistaking there that Thomas Neubauer didn't have it all his own way, because he had all those cars behind him, but he just focused and concentrated on what he needed to do, and did it so very well. And he too goes to the top step of his car. Well done, Thomas. And jumps off very eloquently and athletically, if I may say. And Thomas Neubauer and Marco Pulcini, I feel sure that we will be hearing from in due course. Ferrari show to come a little bit later. You can just see John Vortigue to the left-hand side of that picture. Finale Mondiale 2022 then. And all our racing in Ferrari Challenge for 2022 is done. It's been a long season, a hugely successful season, and really, really enjoyable for us to bring you all the action. So let's hear right now from our winner of the Trofeo Pirelli World Final, Thomas Neubauer.
Thomas, this victory has been a long time coming for you and finally happened today.
I mean, we won the Finale Mondiale 2 years ago. We did again this year, so it's really a very good teamwork. It's a proper teamwork. We have built everything together with the team, starting the season in Hockenheim, then Mugello, then here. We build up everything, and now we finish the last race on the first step of the podium, so obviously it's the goal is achieved.
Fantastic, congratulations.
Thank you.
Well done to Thomas Neubauer. Let's take a look at the highlights right now.
Están caminando desde allá hasta aquí, ¿ves? Toda esa gente que está bajando por allí, ¿ves? El chico de negro, mira, está veniendo para acá la gente.
And here are the results on screen for you in the AMs, and great race, and obviously Marco Pulcini taking that well-deserved win here in the AMs. And all the results, 3 pages for you. We lost a few drivers at the start, and we'll go down to the interview with Marietta and Marco Pulcini, our new world champion in the AMs.
Marco, after everything you have gone through this year, you're Finale Mondiale champion. What does it mean for you?
It's unbelievable. I still need to pinch myself. I just want to say one thing, that honest and hardworking people always have the best in the end. So I'm just very happy, thankful, and blessed.
And we are very happy for you. Thank you. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Well done to Marco Pulcini. It is very much richly deserved, and here are the race statistics then. Mark Musso making the best progress for Trofeo Pirelli, and Faisal Al Faisal making the best progress in Trofeo Pirelli&AM, up 13 and 14 places respectively. Top speed, Luca Nurmi, 271.4, and exactly the same speed from Costidio Toledo for Trofeo Pirelli&AM. So just some of the statistics there, powered by air. And there is our TV production crew, including all our flag-waving friends. That's wonderful to see. So as we look at the cars then in the Parc Ferme area, we await the drivers to be brought out onto the podium for their respective podium celebrations, Trofeo Pirelli and also Trofeo Pirelli&AM. There's Marco Pulcini's father, and he will be absolutely thrilled with his boys' performance on the track. It's going to be Trofeo Pirelli first of all, I would suggest, with Dorian Penn and John Waltique and Thomas Neubauer, and Michele Mambelli is up there on the podium right now, which is literally a stone's throw from our commentary studio here. And here comes Dorian Penn then to make her way out onto the podium. What a season she has had for Scuderia Nicky Iron Lynx. She is one of the Iron Dames drivers, and a brilliant driver at that. And FML D2P, John Waltique, once again, not for the first time this season, he makes it to step 2 of the podium. But on the top step of the podium, he is our Trofeo Pirelli world champion. It is Thomas Neubauer.
Nostro grande applauso, l'applauso per il podio dei vincitori. I trofei sono presentati.
So now time for the trophy presentations. Mr. Antonello Coletta, then head of Ferrari GT Sporting Activities, makes the trophy presentation to Dorian Penn. P3 in the World Championship. Mr. Enrico Galliera, then the Chief Marketing and Commercial Officer, making the P2 trophy presentation to John Waltique. And Benedetto Vigna, the Ferrari Chief Executive Officer, making the trophy presentation to our new world champion, Thomas Neubauer. And of course the Pirelli Award to be presented as well, and what a lovely trophy that is as well. So the drivers will all get together on the top step of the podium, and the focus of all the media will be there, and our trophy presenters are joining the photograph as well. What a lovely photo that is. World final winners for Trofeo Pirelli.
Questo podio Trofeo Pirelli. Ancora un applauso, ragazzi.
Top 3 cars then, we've seen the drivers on the podium. The Scuderia Nicky Iron Lynx driver Dorian Penn, P3. for FML D2P with what a livery across that car this weekend. It is John Huoti. And then taking the world final win for Charles Pozzi Garage, Thomas Neubauer. And he celebrated in fine style by being atop his car. Still have the Pirelli&AM presentation and podium to come, of course. Finale Mondiale 2022. The Finale Mondiales are always something very, very special, and this year has been utterly awesome. Celebrating the 30-year anniversary of the Ferrari Challenge. The racing throughout the season has been wonderful, and Imola has proven to be the perfect choice for the Finale Mondiale event. The weather has been so kind, the racing has been so exciting, and the launch of the LMH and so many other celebrations as we crowned all our champions yesterday at the gala dinner and awards ceremony was, without question, one of these most stunning and impressive to be at. And here comes the podium then for our Pirelli&AM drivers. Taking P3 for Formula Racing, here comes Christian Brunsborg. Taking P2 is Nigel Schoendeveld. And becoming the Trofeo Pirelli&AM World Champion, it's Marco Pulcini. National anthem to play out. So the anthem plays out. Here comes the trophy presentation then for our Trofeo Pirelli&AM podiums. Here comes Niklas Nielsen then, who was on air with us just a few moments ago. The Ferrari official GT driver making the trophy presentation to Christian Brunsborg. That's appropriate, given that when Nicholas was in the Ferrari Challenge, he was racing for the very team that Christian Brunsborg races. Here's James Collado then, making the trophy presentation to Nigel Schoendeveld. And to make the trophy presentation to Marco Pulcini, it's Alessandro Pierguidi. Well done, Ale. Great trophy presentation to a great world champion. And that is Marco Pulcini. Mr. Vicari then will make the Pirelli presentation as well to Marco Pulcini. He's going to try and juggle that lot, you know, and does a good job in so doing. Everyone will get together for the photographs then, as well, the final champions in Ferrari Challenge Trofeo Pirelli&AM are done and dusted. You can see that Marco Pulcini was champing at the bit to get the champagne uncorked. He was told off by Michele Mambelli, and everyone gets together for the photographs before the celebrations can begin. The focus of so much media attention, of course, and here we can see the top three cars. Christian Brunsborg for Formula Racing. He takes P3. Taking P2 and driving so well for Scuderia FMA Iron Links, Nigel Schoendeveld. And then on the top step of the podium, he is the Ferrari Challenge Trofeo Pirelli World Champion. Altea Motors, Marco Pulcini. From all of us, thank you so much for being part of Ferrari Challenge 2022. Thank you so much for watching. And we look forward to seeing you for another wonderful season next season. And as we celebrate our world champions, we bid you farewell from Imola. Bye-bye for now.